Every business owner has faced that moment when you're sort of staring at a problem that just so big, it just makes your morning coffee feel useless. Have you dealt with that before? But what if I told you, like today, solving business problems really could be as simple as I don't know, we'll stick with food, eating pizza or brainstorming like a kid, and maybe laughing along the way. I think that would be good. Hey guys, I'm Mark. Welcome back to Hit the Mark today from beautiful Carson Valley. You see the Sierras behind me. Hey, here at Hit the Mark today, we just take real life problems and turn them into real life situations, real life solutions, I should say, with a little humor to I guess you could say, keep us sane, keep us from going crazy. And you got to be honest for a second. You know, for you guys that are in business problems are like, I guess you could say, well, we're coming up on Thanksgiving. Unexpected relatives at Thanksgiving, maybe. They always tend to show up when you least expect them, and most of the time, they sort of stay a little bit longer than we would like them to. But here's the deal. Stay with me here for a sec. Solving business problems, I believe, doesn't have to feel like, well, since we're in the mountains, how about like climbing Mount Everest and how do you make it? In flip-flops. In fact, I'm going to try to go over today with you guys and show you some ways how I believe you can solve any business problem, sort of in a step-by-step, and without losing your mind or maybe your money, or most importantly, well, since we're talking coffee, your coffee supply. So guys, stick with me for a few minutes. Let's jump into some of these real-world solutions, you can use right away. All right, here we go. Solution number one. What about a slump, sales slump, or, how do you improve customer retention? Well, I believe instead of only chasing new customers, you really need to consider focusing on keeping the ones that you already have. That's really important when things are down. You can send things like maybe an email, send a thank you email. Maybe you can offer some sort of a loyalty discount to those business clients that have been with you. Or what if you create some sort of a referral program? And don't forget this, guys. It's 5 times cheaper to keep a customer than it is to get a new one. Did you know that? All right, what about solution number 2? Does your team seem burned out? Maybe do you need to fix some communication or fix a workload? If your employees look like, we'll talk to coffee, they look like as tired as your coffee machine, that's a real problem. So what if you were to maybe start schedule regular check-ins? Maybe you can, have you heard some of these new tools? They're really cool. It's like Slack, Trello, or Asana. You can just clarify some of those tasks, and maybe you can start rotating some of the responsibilities so no one really feels stuck doing the same thing forever. I remember those days working on at Ford. Hey, a clear structure equals really less chaos, don't you think? All right, number 3, what about cash flow problems? We got a new government in, you got to tighten some spending, and there's tariffs, and maybe you got to diversify some of your income. So how do you do that, Mark? Well, if your wallet's crying, here's what I think is a great idea. What if you go through and audit your expenses and just sort of see if you can cut the stuff that really doesn't give you a return? Sometimes that's tough, but it's necessary, and you just maybe negotiate with some of your vendors to see if you can maybe work on some better terms. And what if you introduce maybe to yourself a little, or your employees, a little side income stream, like a digital product, or maybe some sort of a subscription service? Sometimes you don't need more money. I guess you just need to be a little bit smarter with your money management. What do you think about that? Leave me a comment, please, and let me know. All right, let's keep going. Solution number 4. What about stuck marketing? Test small, scale fast, Don't throw your entire budget at one big campaign. I don't believe in that, because, that could flop. Or maybe it won't flop, but might make it harder than bad karaoke night. I just think you need to test small ads, maybe in some different platforms. And I always like to talk to some of my different staff members. What about if you double down only on those ones that work, test them out, get some feedback, and again, talk to your customers for that feedback, and maybe you can say, hey guys, how can I tweak my message? Really, guys, if you think of it, marketing shouldn't be like dating. You don't test the waters before I guess you say, you test the waters before you commit long term. That's a good one. Solution number 5, decision overload. Well, have you heard about the 80-20 rule? Maybe? Well, when everything feels urgent, I believe nothing gets done. So what I like to try to do, guys, is focus 20% of tasks that deliver 80% of your results. And delegate or maybe ditch the rest. And you see, leaders don't solve all the problems, but they have a tendency to solve the right problems. So listen to me for a sec, guys. If you're battling maybe sales slumps, team stress, cash flow crunches, or maybe marketing mayhem, do me a favor and remember that every single business problem that you're going to deal with comes with a solution. You understand that, right? And here's the kicker. I believe once you solve it, build a system so you don't face the same mess again in the future. Think of it like creating a recipe. I guess you could say once you know how to bake the cake or make the cookies, you don't guess the ingredients every time. You just follow that formula that gets you successful. So hey guys, if Hit the Mark today, if this episode helped you breathe a little bit easier about your business challenges, can you do me a favor? Help our channel grow a little bit. Hit that like button. And of course, if you like to check back for a weekly motivational, subscribe. And then, do you know somebody who maybe needs some of these tips? Share it with them. Maybe some fellow business owners who are maybe staring down at their own, mountains, their own Mount Everest problem right now. Because, guys, the faster, this, if you're in business, the faster that you solve problems, the faster that you can grow. And then the faster you can laugh, a little bit along the way. That's how I believe you hit the mark today.